For all.
All right, I'll take roll. Hardman,
Present.
Hudson,
Here.
Trimble,
Here.
Trevelyan, I know is absent, and McKinney.
Here.
So we have 4 members present, Your Honor.
All right, Brian, any changes to the?
There are no changes, Your Honor.
Move approval as distributed.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Agenda carried. Items 2 is citizens forum, which would be anyone that's here tonight in the audience that would like to address the city council on any item that's not part of public hearing, item 6 of new business, item 7. Seeing no one, we'll move on to mayor, city council, city manager.
Nothing at this time, Your Honor.
Yep, the Finance Administration Subcommittee met on March 3rd and discussed several items. One of which was a sidewalk lease agreement that staff has been working on with businesses down in Valley Junction to have some of the businesses be able to lease from the city the sidewalk to set up a patio. It would be a seasonal thing. The proposal begins as a 1-year term, and it would automatically renew up to a maximum of 3 years. The space would be seasonal, like I said, from April 1st through November 15th, and the fee associated would be $3 per square foot and a $500 security deposit. So that's going to be neat to try that out and let these businesses have access to the sidewalk, almost like a sidewalk cafe type of deal. And I think there are a couple of them that are interested in trying it right away. And then we had a discussion on the 88th Street reconstruction. We were trying to figure out how to get portions of 88th Street constructed that are currently not constructed and unfinished. And, you know, we seem to have some difficulty in getting agreement to have participation from some of the landowners that live adjacent to the street. We had something we were going to try to do where it was a public-private partnership to finish the street, and it didn't seem to work out. And so what the owners have agreed to do is dedicate the right-of-way, and the city is going to go and finish those sections of 88th Street that are unfinished at this point in time. We did have a greater discussion about, you know, what we do in the future with regards to street construction and participation of the budding property owners and how that might work, because every angle that we seem to take seems to have some flaws in it. Whether it's a petition and waiver that ends up getting put on homeowners after the builder builds and moves on, and then we've got, you know, 30 homeowners in here that claim they weren't aware of this, and they don't want to, or they want to fight this, or, you know, other agreements that we've had with people. There just seems to be no good way to get this done, other than some ways that we really don't want to pursue, which is assessments. Public service operator, job description and pay range. This is on the agenda tonight. We have to be competitive in the market, in the jobs that we have here and what we pay our people. We're having a situation here where the public services operators in public works, mainly, I believe, could also be some engineering department. We're essentially training a bunch of people, and they're leaving to go take positions in other neighboring cities where the pay is more competitive, because we've fallen underneath the market for this pay. And so we're needing to make an upward adjustment of the pay for these positions. The change has an annual budget effect of $194,000 to our city budget. We've had vacancies, so we're not going to have an impact this year, but next year we're going to have to adjust our budget that we're going to be passing tonight for this cost. But it just makes sense, because we can't keep, you know, paying to train people and then they leave, and then we bring new people in. So this change in the market pay will hopefully help keep our people here and not have them go on other cities. And that is it for my report. I did provide you guys just a brief update. I had a Central Iowa Water Trails Governance Committee meeting. I couldn't be on the entire meeting. We discussed some of the things that we brought up at our last meeting that you guys wanted to see done to be a part of this. And, one of those things was a dedicated spot on the executive committee. And this is when I had to drop off. They seem to have a lot of heartburn over giving us a dedicated spot. I need to follow back with them and see what their compromise ended up being. They did agree to having one of the business members on the committee being a West Side. I'm not sure if they agreed to have that be specific to West Des Moines, but they are trying to, accommodate all of the different metro cities and some of the requests that they had to bring people in. They had not talked, I don't believe, to Waukee and Ankeny. And that was another thing that we wanted to make sure of, that we had some of the bigger cities in the metro that were going to agree to participate. So it will be interesting as to what happens there, but they are hoping to get everybody participating, hoping to get funding yet for the project in this year's budget, and getting everybody to pass that 2080 and sign on, and they've got a pretty aggressive schedule. So hopefully they can get some of these things worked out, and we can decide whether or not we are in based on the final agreement that they've got in place there. So
Okay.
I will update you guys when I know more.
Great, thanks. Greg?
Yeah, just two quick things. First off, we're gonna, on the consent agenda, we're gonna be talking about the future Grand Prairie Parkway in between Stagecoach and Mill Civic, and I just wanted to share that for folks who are living on the far west side of West Des Moines, in the Dallas County portion of West Des Moines, it's going to be a tremendous benefit because all of those folks who live near Woodland Hills, right now, to get up to the interstate, they have to either go all the way to Mill Civic or Jordan Creek, but this will allow them to shoot right up Grand Prairie Parkway. And I know it's just the preliminary stages, but that's just going to be fantastic. So I'm just going to make my consent agenda remarks now. And Mayor Gare, I know we're going to have lots of words to say about you over the coming months, but I just wanted to congratulate you on your 24, 25 years of service to the city. I won't say how old I was when you started. It doesn't matter if I was a teenager yet or not. It doesn't matter. The point is,
You at least had your driver's license.
the point is, we are grateful for your service, and I'm sure everyone will be sharing those sentiments. But we're not done yet. We have a lot more to do. So that'll conclude my remarks.
Well, thank you. All right, Renee?
Thank you, Your Honor. I do have a couple of things I will share with the listening audience and those that are present. And one of them is our third or fourth meeting that Councilman Trimble and I have had with the police chief and his deputy as follow-up to the recommendations of the mayor's task force. We are being very methodical, reviewing every recommendation, item by item, discussing where there is room for us to accept their recommendation and where there might be some soft spots. I think one of the biggest areas that we spent a lot of time talking about was the access to citizens' review around complaints when racial profiling has been made. We do want officers to have due process, but we also want a lot of transparency in the process. So really trying to work through all the nuances there. Our goal is to have another meeting, and at some point, Mayor, they would like to make a report to this council on where we've landed on the recommendation. So just want to reassure you that these recommendations are being reviewed extensively.
Yeah,
And
I would
I'm proud to
echo-
be a part of that process.
I would just echo what Councilwoman Hardman is saying, because we have a list of these items that we're going through, and every year we're pretty eager, every time we're pretty eager to get through them, and we end up only getting through like 2 or 3 different recommendations that they had made, because we are talking quite extensively about each one of these things, so.
I also attended the West Des Moines Chamber's annual dinner. It was kind of the first time that we've had a hybrid where you could go somewhere during post-COVID, well, at the end of COVID, or hopefully near the end of COVID, where Lynn Swan was the speaker. So I want to congratulate the Chamber and their staff for putting on what I consider a very nice affair at the hall and celebrating the success of numerous things that are going on at the West Des Moines Chamber, and how Catherine Harrington has really lifted up the voice of the Chamber to really support West Des Moines in ways that are almost just what my nephew says, off the chain. I also attended their monthly board meeting where there was a lot of time. They spoke about the Black and Brown Summit. There's going to be a pitch competition at this summit where there's over close to $8,000 in prizes. It's April the 22nd and the 23rd. So there's still opportunity for anyone on this dais or otherwise to support that event by helping to sponsor certain things and whatnot. I'm sponsoring the T-shirt giveaway, so there's opportunities to give and support the chamber for this event. And then I want to say I'm really proud of Officer Anthony Capallo, who, along with myself, attended an 8-hour session that we were invited to go to this training process called restorative practices. And it is a method by which leaders can communicate to bring about change and to hear voices, even when they're dissenting opinions. And it is a skill and a skill set. So I was really pleased that someone from the police force was on that. And that was, again, Officer Anthony Capallo and myself for 8 hours of a theme trying to offer this to community leaders that are really out there in the community trying to hear all voices around difficult issues. So really proud to have represented the city of West Des Moines and invited to that particular event. That concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Working with the city engineer and McClure Engineering, you're going to be bringing forward to you soon an agreement with DOT, which will allow us to use the right-of-way along 235, which goes up against Valley West Mall area for detention. This is huge because we'll be able to work in that large area and grading in that area rather than doing all kinds of work within the developed area, which is much more expensive. So it's not totally completed yet, but I'm confident we'll be bringing it to you soon. And thanks to Brian and working with DOT, that's a big deal for us. Thank you.
Yeah, no, we've been working on that a long time, and I know I've been involved in some of those meetings, and I mean, it's millions of dollars of savings. Plus it opens up, and if we have our workshop, the University Avenue Corridor Plan, it has in there regional detention. So it saves millions of dollars and creates redevelopment opportunities on these sites that otherwise they would have to use part of their site for detention. So this really is a big deal. And I know McClure Engineering was a big help to us as a part of this, and HR Green. So great team effort, and this is really a fantastic thing for that whole region and the future of redevelopment in that area. So congratulations, Tom and Brian and everyone. That is nice. We did tonight, I guess, we'll make as part of the record for items 4K 1 and 6I 1 through 3, have another objection letter from MediaCom to those items. So we'll include their letter as a part of the public comment. And I guess you probably saw their issue that they raised with me at the end of last week. I'm not going to recuse myself on running the meeting on these items, but I know Dick wanted to say a few things before we started into the agenda, just so everyone knows why.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, we did receive on March 11th a letter from Mr. Pardini, a vice president at MediaCom, in regard to Mayor Gare's alleged conflict of interest for participating or having some involvement in the July 6th meeting. You might recall that's when the city took action with the Digital Enterprise Urban Renewal Plan. They approved that. They approved the license agreement with Google Fiber, and then they authorized the selling of $42 million in bonds. Prior or subsequent to that time, there was an agreement between a separate company from the mayor's, but which has a relationship with R&R, in which Google Fiber entered into an agreement in order for the real estate company to find space for Google Fiber in the city of West Des Moines. Third party. MediaCom is alleging that creates a conflict of interest for the mayor. It certainly doesn't put anything at risk on the July 6th meeting because that agreement wasn't even in place at the time. And MediaCom, although they make noise that there was a legal conflict, there's certainly no legal conflict between the mayor's actions or the council's actions and Google Fiber on July 6th or since that time. So they're now alleging that the mayor has the appearance. I don't find any issue with the mayor's involvement. vote of the council, and he is allowed to participate in discussions and debate. There's no prohibition of that, and no issue as far as a conflict. So although I haven't had a great opportunity to look into this in great detail, I will be issuing a legal memo for the record, and did want to disclose that the mayor's company or a subsidiary of the company did have a relationship, Google Fiber only, and the fact that they were separately looking for space had nothing to do with anything that occurred on July 6th or moving forward. So having no real conflict, I think the allegations of MediaCom, we've received several allegations that don't seem to be based in a lot of fact. I think this is just another one. And as I said, I'll be issuing an opinion for the record at a later time, sometime this week.
Okay, thank you. So I know we need to pull 4KL because of the MediaCom. Are there any other items that any council member wants to pull off the consent agenda?
I just have a question around 4E, so if we can pull that just for the question, I'd appreciate it.
Okay,
I'd say 4G as well. I've just got something quick.
okay.
So you've got 4K1 and how about also 4K6 as well as 40 or oh, I'm sorry.
4-0. Okay. Can I get a motion for the rest of them?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Those items are approved. The first item, 4E, is a motion to approve the appointments to 7 different boards and commissions. Renee?
Yeah, I just want to first of all say, great job having folks that have an interest in serving, so that always is a plus. I just noticed, and I really love reading people's backgrounds and their applications, and maybe this is for Ryan, I noticed that 2 of them did not have applications attached. So I'm just wondering if we're being consistent with the application process, and
Were those reappointments?
this is one for reappointment to the Sisters Commission and reappointment. So if they're reappointments, we just.
Yeah, that's
okay,
been our
okay.
practice, is to
Okay.
not include applications for reappointments. We just-
Okay, no problem. Thank
I mean, we
you.
can always change that going forward if,
Yeah, I may not have seen it when they were appointed the first time, but yeah, I just wanted an explanation that
okay.
everybody's going through that process. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to see that too. That sounds great. Good idea.
Yeah, and I just want to thank everybody for stepping up too. I mean, we've talked about this a number of times before. We got a lot of great citizens in our community that want to step up and serve, and for all the right reasons, to give back to the community and try to contribute to the organization or committee that they're serving on. And you know, I just think that's great that we have people that want to come forward and do that. So thank you to everybody that's put their name out there and that is willing to serve on our boards and commissions.
Okay, someone want to move 4E?
So move.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The appointments are approved. 4G, Russ, is a motion to approve the professional services agreement for Raccoon River Pedestrian Bridge Capital Campaign.
Yeah, 2 things that I want to mention here. Number one, I think I mentioned last time, I had a conversation with Hannah Inman, Sally and I did, about this. You know, I had brought this up when we were looking at approving it before, and just wanted to make sure that $5,000 that we were going to spend was going to be a good bang for our buck, and that they felt that, you know, they'd be able to help us raise a decent amount of funds if we hired them to do this. And through our conversation, they thought it was a problem to raise at least, I think, $3 million is their goal, and I didn't think they thought they had a problem doing that. So I think it's going to be money well spent. I also want to point out to the fact that doing this will be another public-private partnership. I think that's the way that we've gone on a lot of these quality of life. I don't know why my mic keeps cutting out, but that's the way we've gone on a lot of these quality of life amenities that we've been adding to the city. It's just been a huge partnership between the private sector and us, and I think that's really important going forward, and I look forward to continuing to add more of these public-private partnerships as we develop our quality of life in West Des Moines. So
Okay.
I would just move 4G.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? 4G passes. 4K1 is a resolution to order construction of Digital Enterprise 2021 single-family drop conduit installation, and 4K6 is South Grand Prairie Parkway Stagecoach Drive to Mill Civic Parkway. And I know Matt's going to abstain on both of those items, so someone want to move?
I would move both of those items.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And we'll show Matt abstaining on those two items.
Thank you.
4O is a resolution authorizing continuation of relief for development agreement partners impacted by COVID-19. Matt?
Yep, thank you, Mayor. I know that obviously a lot has happened as a result of the disruption over the last year. And I saw that, this had been extended out once, and we're going to extend out compliance with development agreements through basically, I think it was October of 2022.
Correct.
And so I guess I'm just curious generally, is that kind of what we're seeing across other cities? I don't know if the state is doing something in terms of extending out agreements, but just trying to get some perspective as to where this falls relative to what others might be doing. Because, I could see certainly October 2021. It felt like 2022 is quite a ways out.
I think we're having problems with the Teams meeting, and so I'm not sure if we have anybody to address that, but I think that I've seen the state similar actions. I don't know how far out they're going, but it's just difficult in this time period, as you said, with COVID-19 to, continue to meet some of these job requirements. But so I think it's just pushing it out a little bit. I had the same question about why go out to 2022, but our economic development folks said that seemed like a more appropriate time to go out because, we're still impacted by COVID in 2021, and we're not sure when things are going to go back to. So,
And
Nice.
I don't have a timetable by which I think that everything will go back to normal. I just have heard that there are some long-term effects of what we've gone through that might take a bit longer than we anticipate to just get back to normal. That, even 2022, we're going to be having some sustainable issues due to the COVID and the pandemic, but I don't know the magic date.
Right, and I know Clyde was the department director for this. It seems like this gives us the right, but maybe it's not going to occur. I think it's on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
So my guess is we're going to ask for compliance as quickly as we can, but it gives the staff flexibility if they feel that there's a compelling reason to extend it out a ways so we don't have to do it again. But I don't think this is a guarantee that everyone's going to get extended until October of 22.
Okay, that's
The
good
way I read
perspective.
it.
well, the other thing I would note, and it's in the packet, but the fact that the agreements that we've had down in Valley Junction, those individuals that have received loans and repaying on those loans, I think everybody has said they have no problem on continuing to repay those loans that they've taken out. So at least we're moving in the right direction. But
Yep. All right, I just wanted to bring it up here for discussion, and thanks for the perspective. So I'd go ahead and move for, I don't know. Oh,
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? 4-0 is approved. Item 5, old business, 5A, West Grand Business Park, Mid-American Energy Rexplex, 6500 Grand Avenue. Amend the plan unit development to modify development and signage regulations for parcel 10, City of West Des Moines. This is an ordinance for the second, third reading, final adoption. There are no changes from the first reading.
Move for the reading of the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Ryan?
4 yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019, and ordinance numbers 1373, 1812, 2299, 2359, 2360, and 2446 pertaining to plan unit development, district regulations, and guidelines.
Move for approval.
second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right.
Move to waive the third reading and adopt in final form.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? That item is approved. Item 5B, University Avenue Corridor Urban Renewal Area. This is an ordinance for the third reading and final adoption. There are no changes.
Move consideration of the third reading.
Second.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? That ordinance is approved.
4 yes, an ordinance providing the general property taxes levied and collected each year on certain property located within the University Avenue Corridor Urban Renewal Area in the city of West Des Moines be paid to a special fund for payment of principal and interest on loans, monies advanced to, and indebtedness, including bonds issued or to be issued incurred by the city in connection with the University Avenue corridor urban renewal area.
Move approval of the third reading and adoption of final form.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I would say this is, and I'm sorry, I should have said this before, but I think this is something that's extremely important. I hope that we get funding from the state and that Iowa Reinvestment Act money, because this is really an important part of our city, as we've all taken note of, and it's really starting to decay a little bit. The mall's obviously having problems, across the street's having problems, and this is the first step to try to address that and really improve that part of the city. So again, I just hope that we get funding from the state to be able to do this, but this is an important first step, and I'm glad we're doing it.
Well, and to reiterate, this master regional detention that we just talked about is going to make this site a lot more redevelopable, and they can put money into the redevelopment versus the infrastructure, so. Item 5C, Mid-American Energy Rexplex Automated Online Broadcast Service City Initiated. This was continued from the March 1st council meeting. It's a motion to approve the agreement with Live Barn Inc.
I move approval of the agreement.
Second.
Any other questions or comments?
I'll just say I appreciate the additional follow-up that went into this. I recognize now with some of this additional information where we're at, and well, I have, it's concerning to have 6 years. I get where it is, and I'm supportive of it. But so thanks for everybody that took the time to look at this.
I guess the only follow-up I would have is for Dick, and that is, we were worried with the 6-year agreement. I think the fact that they're paying for the equipment and have that investment, and the fact that we're not paying anything, it's kind of good to lock into a 6-year agreement so that that can't change. But we did talk about how do we make it such that if they do something egregious, we can get out of here. And can you just give us a little bit of a follow-up on that, what we've done in the contract so that we can get out of it if they do something egregious that we don't want to continue this relationship as a result of?
Well, if they breach the agreement, actually, there's no exclusivity if they do breach the agreement for the 6-year period. So if we want them to be out, there was some language added, but still, they'd still have the exclusivity under that provision if we wanted them out other than breaching the agreement itself. So,
Okay.
but in speaking with the Parks Department and Greta and we were kind of trying to put our heads together as to what actually they could do or what they maybe have done in the past. And it doesn't seem like anything that, I don't know that we would be bothered to the extent that we would want to terminate the agreement by anything that they would do, because we just couldn't really foresee anything that would rise to that level.
Okay. And if we terminate the agreement for whatever reason, let's say they do something that we consider egregious, whatever that may be that I can't think of right now, what happens? I mean, they sue us for breach of contract, and then
Well, we can also, we also have a timeline that we can get them, either of us can get out of that agreement with certain time provided to the other party. That, I think to Councilmember McKinney's concerns last time, that exclusivity would still stay in place because of the investment that they made. So unless it's an actual breach, we're going to be stuck, if you will, with that exclusivity period. But to your point, Russ, again, they've been in operation for some time. We were trying to think of something inappropriate that was said or done or provided, and we just couldn't really see that it would rise, they would ever do anything that would be so egregious that we would want to terminate the agreement.
Gotcha. All right, thank you, Dick, I appreciate it.
All right, Ryan, did we get a vote?
No. not yet.
Okay, all in favor of 5C, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The agreement is approved. Item 6, public hearings. We have a number of them tonight. 6A, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider West Grand Business Park, Des Moines University, 8025 Grand Avenue, amend the plan unit development parcel 8 to establish regulations for development of a college campus initiated by Des Moines University Osteopathic Medical Center. This was continued from the March 1st City Council agenda. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
February 12th, 2021 in the Des Moines Register.
Have we received any written comments?
The Plan and Zoning Commission, by a vote of 6 yes, adopted a resolution recommending approval of the PUD amendment.
Okay, now would be the time for anyone in the audience who would like to address the City Council on item 6A. Seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. It's an ordinance for the first reading. There are no outstanding issues.
And Mayor, I need to abstain from this vote for purposes of being a trustee for DMU.
Move consideration of the first reading.
Second.
Any other questions or comments? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we'll show Renee abstaining.
3 yes, 1 abstention due to potential conflict of interest. An ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019, in ordinance numbers 1373, 1812, 2299, 2359, 2360, and 2446 pertaining to plan unit development, district regulations, and guidelines.
Move approval of the first reading.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we'll show Renee abstaining. Thank you. Item 6B, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider vacation request, 1800 Industrial Circle, vacate a portion of the former cul-de-sac right-of-way initiated by I2 Tech LLC. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
March 6, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Have we received any written comments?
None, Your Honor.
All right, now would be the time for anyone in the audience who would like to address the city council on item 6B. All right, seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Again, this is an ordinance for the first reading. There's no outstanding issues.
Move consideration of the first reading.
Second.
Questions or comments?
To say this came before the Development Planning Committee about a month ago, and this is yet another, I think, good project for our city. A lot of jobs are going to be added here and a lot more manufacturing occurring, so it's good to see.
Yeah, and they've done a wonderful job cleaning up that whole area and those buildings down there.
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Ryan?
4 yes, an ordinance vacating a portion of former cul-de-sac right-of-way.
Move consideration of the first reading.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? First reading's approved. Item 6C, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider amendment to City Code Title IX zoning, modify regulations pertaining to fences and walls, initiated by the City of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
February 26, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
The Plan and Zoning Commission, by a vote of 6 yes, adopted a resolution recommending approval of the ordinance amendment.
All right, now be the time for anyone in the audience who would like to address the City Council on item 6C. All right, seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Again, we have an ordinance for the first reading, and this also came through the Development Planning Council Committee on 2 separate occasions, going back to August of last year.
And move approval.
Second.
Any other questions or comments?
I was looking for Lynn, but maybe
She's on vacation.
somebody else. Okay, Linda. I guess the question I have is, it looks like we're trying to, I don't know, I guess standardize what, kind of rein in what people can and cannot have for fences and kind of more standardized material and stuff like that. And is that right?
Yes, Linda Schimmel, Development Coordinator. So this was really driven by several different conversations with different homeowners about other homeowners putting fences up. And with this, we tried to be more specific about what materials were allowed, and if they were non-traditional fencing materials, kind of that fit and finish. How would they look? Should they be installed rather than having something that is on the pole, it's kind of sloppy. The material itself may be okay, but it needs to be installed.
So, okay, I guess what I'm trying to figure out with this is I appreciate what we're doing. I think we probably need to do this to make things look a little nicer around the city and clean things up a little bit. But at the same time, I'm trying to figure, like, you know, who are we going to hear from that's going to be upset once we make this change? I have noticed lately, as I've been driving around, people that have put various fences up, like are in these pictures, around some of their vegetation and whatnot, their landscape, to try to have the deer stay away from them. And really, to be honest, some of the people done a nice job in doing this, and it's, you know, I didn't notice it the first several times I drove by. But now I'm just wondering, after we pass this, are we gonna have people complaining and then people knocking on these people's doors saying, you gotta take down the fence around your garden? Or what's the pushback we're gonna get? Who's gonna come in yelling and screaming if we do this?
Within this ordinance amendment, we deliberately treated fences around garden areas differently than fences around our property.
Okay.
Again, and to really kind of acknowledge the fact that interior isn't necessarily as much of a concern as property edge.
Okay, so this pertains more to along the property edge than around the garden itself.
Right, and so they're
Okay,
separate categories within the ordinance.
okay. Well, it sounds like you guys thought of everything as I,
Well, and there was discussion, Councilman McKinney can attest to it, that, we didn't take this lightly. I purposely asked the question about, are we trying to dictate, even if someone has a fence and they want a little ornament thing on it and whatnot? I'm one for choice. I'm one for trying to give people opportunity to do us right. But the way this was limited into the area that we were talking about led us to believe that this might be a good thing for the city. But those questions were raised as it relates to people's ability to choose what they wanted and the freedom to do all of that and not exercise undue control. Would you say?
Yeah,
Councilman
I
McKinney?
just want to echo that. I mean, that is absolutely what we talked about during the development planning meeting a couple weeks ago. And, it was pretty clear. I mean, I know we both raised this issue that, in the event somebody has something that is akin to what is depicted here, but not identical, there is going to be some understanding and flexibility to accommodate something that is similar to what is depicted. And whether it's through a waiver or a special exception or variance, I don't know what we technically call it, but there's a path forward to do that.
great. Thank you guys for your due diligence, for looking into this and bringing up all the questions. And thanks to staff for thinking through all this and making something that's palatable to move forward. So appreciate it.
Okay, all in favor of the first reading, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
4 yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019 by amending Title 9 zoning, Chapter 14 accessory structures, and Chapter 19 landscaping to modify fence and wall regulations.
Move approval.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? First reading's approved. Item 6D, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider the 2021-2022 fiscal year operating and capital budgets initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
February 26, 2021 in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
None, Your Honor.
Okay, now would be the time for anyone in the audience who would like to address the city council on item 6D. Okay, seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed, and this is a resolution to approve the budget.
Move approval.
Second.
Second.
Questions or comments?
The only comment I would say is that I'm proud of this budget. I think it's a great budget that we've put together. I appreciate all staff's time and energy, all the meetings that went on to put this budget together. And, through COVID-19, we've tried to be as lean as we possibly could, yet still fund our essential services and our priorities in the city government. And I think we've done that. And at the same time, we're reducing taxes by 4 cents per thousand. It's not a huge reduction in the levy, but it's a reduction in the levy, and I think it goes the right direction and tries to help out businesses and homeowners who have also been impacted through COVID-19. So I am really proud of this budget and appreciate all the work that went into this.
I'd just like to add a comment as well, is that, while we're going to quickly likely approve this budget, so much work has gone into this. And we probably spend more time talking about fences along a border than the public with on a budget. And that kind of makes me laugh because that's really how it is. So, but I take that as a compliment that they trust the staff for doing a good job and being mindful. We don't have a lot of excess in this budget. I think Tom kept the FTE count very lean for the most part, and recognized that there were some efficiencies during COVID that we probably learned that allowed us to not have to keep adding FTEs. So I really appreciate that analysis. I appreciate the finance staff. Happy with this budget as well, but hours and hours and hours of good work by the leadership team helped put this together for us to review.
And I just go back to our citizen survey when 90-some% of our residents feel good about the quality of the services for the value of what they pay, and that's who we're serving. And there's not a lot of governments that get approval ratings, let alone in the 90-some percentile. The other thing that this shows is the value of growth. There's not a lot of communities that are growing their revenues through economic development like we've been. So there's a huge bonus in continuing to encourage and have people invest in our community. And I go back to the building permit activity. Last year was close to $700 million in a year where everyone said everything was shut down. We saw a huge growth in 9 and 10 when everything else was shut down, because we had businesses saying, look, we're going to grow, and here's a place that we want to grow because of the quality of what's going on here. So I would encourage us to continue to look for ways to make sure that people want to invest and grow and come here, because that is the goose that lays the golden egg.
Agreed, well
And-
said.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Greg.
Oh, okay. I just want to echo what everyone said, because we have a phenomenal city. And, as the mayor said, this has been a really terrible year in so many regards. Cities across the country are having to cut budgets. They have to cut city staff. They have to cut wages of city staff as well. And yet, this budget is just really, really an excellent one. Well put together, efficiencies, but also our tremendous staff of the city. Their wages are not being cut; their wages are being increased, which is really great for just the level of awesomeness, I'll just say, that our city staff has. So, really, really proud to support this budget.
Mayor, I'm going to pile on and say I'm also proud of this. I'm excited that, we can have some good balance. We can do great quality of life things. We can also work to lower the tax burden across the city and keep our city moving in the right direction. So I think it's terrific, and I appreciate everybody that did the good work to put this together.
We'll give you a month before we start on the next fiscal year. Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, enjoy the next month, because we're going to start the conversation again. All right, all in favor of 6D, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The 2021-22 fiscal year operating capital budget is approved. Item 6E, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider termination of storm sewer easement and conveyance of property interest in underlying fee owner, Vine Street reconstruction, 12th Street to 14th Street, initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
March 3rd, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Have we received any written comments?
None, Your Honor.
All right, now would be the time for anyone in the audience who would like to address the city council on item 6E. Okay, hearing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. It's a resolution to approval of termination of storm sewer easement and conveyance of property.
Move approval.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? That item is approved. 6F, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider Brookview Elementary School, 8,000 EP True Parkway, conveyance of easement for stormwater management facility and surface water flowage to the Waukee Community School District, initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
March 10th, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
None, Your Honor.
All right, now would be the time for anyone in the audience that would like to address the city council on item 6F. All right, seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. It's a resolution to approve the conveyance of the easement.
Move for approval.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Yeah, my kids go to Brookview Elementary School, and it's just another example of how the cities and the schools can work together. It's a small thing. It's not a big thing, but when it comes to the importance of maintaining infrastructure, when it comes to our importance of working together to prevent future problems, I'm really, really happy that, compared to the city budget, this is not as big. However, it's those little things that keep our city moving forward. So I'm happy that our children at Brookview will be safe from the stormwater. That's not exactly what this is, but I just wanted to say that. But I do appreciate this, and I support it.
As a guy that's on the city school committee, thank you, because I've actually heard from people that the city and the school are working more closely together now than they ever have. And so I appreciate that committee and the work that they do. And it's extremely important that we work together to do things like this, and if we can find efficiencies and savings in the future and other things like that, I think it's just important to keep that line of communication open and meet as regularly as we can. So.
Well, this didn't come directly from the city school committee.
Right.
The point is taken because the opportunity for working together is going to continue to grow, I believe, so.
Based on the geographic boundaries of our city, we get the opportunity to work with 6 different school districts.
Right.
Plenty of them.
Yeah, I congratulated Waukee School District the other night with the victory in the state championship.
Yep.
Huge deal for us.
All right, all in favor of 6F, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yep.
Any abstentions? All right, that item's approved.
Not forget that once the Waukee schools break up this coming year, no West Des Moines students will be going to Waukee Northwest, but half of all Waukee high school students will be West Des Moines residents.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Okay, item 6G, conveyance of property, no, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider conveyance of property adjacent to Veterans Parkway to James J. and Deborah A. Nahas Revocable Trust, initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
March 10th, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Received any written comments?
None, Your Honor.
All right, now be the time for anyone in the audience who'd like to address the city council on item 6G. All right, seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. It's a resolution to approve the conveyance of property.
Move approval of the resolution.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Mayor, I'll just say that this is something I saw for the first time on Friday. I wasn't aware of it. I'm going to abstain from this. Jim and Deb Nahas are my, relatives. They're very close. And like a lot of things, I didn't initiate or negotiate this.
Sure. Okay. All in favor of 6G, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And we'll show Matt abstaining.
Thank you.
Item 6H, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider the 2021 HMA resurfacing program initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
March 5th, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
None, Your Honor.
All right, now be the time for anyone in the audience who'd like to address the city council on item 6H. Seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. We have 2 resolutions and a motion which we can take together, and this came through Public Services City Council Committee.
Move approval.
Second.
Questions or comments? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Those items are approved. Item 6I, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider digital enterprise conduit deployment segment 5, phase 2, initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
March 5th, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
None, Your
other than
Honor.
the-
Oh, sorry, there
yeah,
was
the
the-
letter from MediaCom today.
Yes.
Okay. Now would be the time for anyone in the audience who'd like to address the city council on item 6I. Okay, seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. We have 2 resolutions and a motion which we can take together.
Move approval.
Second.
Questions or comments?
I'll be abstaining, Mayor.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we'll show Matt abstaining. Item 6J, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider Holiday Park Little League Stormwater Pump Station relocation initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
March 5th, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
None, Your Honor.
All right, now would be the time for anyone in the audience who'd like to address the city council on item 6J. Okay, seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Again, we have 2 resolutions and a motion which we can take together.
Move approval.
Second.
Questions or comments? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, those items are approved. 6K, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider the 2020 channel repair program initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
March 5th, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
None, Your Honor.
All right, now would be the time for anyone in the audience who would like to address the city council on item 6K. All right, seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. And again, we have 2 resolutions and a motion which we can take together, and this also came through Public Services Council Committee.
I move approval.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Also nice to see another low bid. They all weren't lower than the estimation tonight, but there were quite a few lower bids. It's always pleasant to see, so thank you for that.
And we continue to get multiple bids, which is always nice.
And I would say also, it's nice to see that we're staying on top of things and we're always looking at, doing projects like this, redoing streets and channel repair and you name it, so that we're always on top of it, not going to have things go into disrepair and have to play catch-up. So I just appreciate the continual monitoring and investment that we do to stay on top of this infrastructure that we have.
How long has that agreement been with the school district? I was just curious, it just said in the background, and maybe I missed that, but just out of curiosity. City staff recently worked with the West Des Moines School District to execute agreement, and, is this an ongoing agreement, or is this just the one?
Just for this
Westview?
project.
It's very specific.
Yes. Mhm.
It's not an ongoing, near all of the elementary schools or anything?
No.
Okay,
Only where needed.
very cool, thank you.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Items 6K, 1, 2, and 3 are approved. 6L, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider South 41st Street and Mills Civic Parkway Hawk Beacon, initiated by the City of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
March 5th, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
None, Your Honor.
Okay, now would be the time for anyone in the audience who would like to address the City Council on item 6L. Okay, seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Again, 2 resolutions and a motion we can take together, and this also came through the Public Services City Council Committee.
Move approval.
All right, any other questions or comments?
I'm just very grateful to our Public Services Department, our traffic engineers that, they get a lot of requests to go out and look at various intersections in the city and, requests for hawk beacons. And I appreciate that, it's the people that have called in and asked for them to look at it. They've done that, and now we're finally getting one here. And, this is going to be a huge improvement in the way of public safety. So thank you for that.
I think it's impressive that this is just another example of the city working well, because whether it be the library's new position that's going to start in January of the teen coordinator, all of these residents who live across the street off of Westwood, all the residents who live in Chapel Ridge, who head across the street to the library, they come down from Southwoods perhaps, go to the library, and then head across Mill Civic. I mean, this is just... it's a small thing, but it's a big thing at the same time. And several residents have reached out to me as well, just as Councilman Tremble said. So this is great. Really excited.
Okay, all in favor of 6L, 1, 2, and 3, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Those items are approved. Item 7, new business. 7A, 88th Street Lofts, 520 88th Street. Approve the preliminary plat to create 1 lot for high-density residential development and 1 street lot. Approval of site plan for the construction of a 3-story, 49-unit apartment building, TWG Development LLC. It's a resolution to approve the preliminary plat and site plan, and there are no outstanding issues.
Move approval.
Questions or comments? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Those items are approved. 7B, 2021, 2022 fiscal year hotel motel tax allocations. City initiated. This is a motion to approve the Finance and Administration's Committee recommendation. And we all know they took a lot of time to go through these requests and have the various applicants come in and share information and present. So many thanks to the F&A Committee for the time spent. It shows 1, 2, 3, 4 different F&A meetings for this. I mean, it's a big deal, and a lot of these organizations, this is a significant amount of their funding for the year.
Right. I feel bad we couldn't do more, but, as I had explained before, we kind of took one on the chin when COVID hit and made sure that these organizations got the funding up front, and the city kind of took a hit. And so we had to pull back on what we were able to award to some of these outside organizations. We know how important this funding is to them, but I'm glad that we were able to award the funds that we were able to award. So, and I appreciate Greg and working through this, like the mayor said, all these early morning meetings and delving through this material and listening to all the presentations. And I appreciate all the presentations that everyone gave and all the things that everybody who presented does for our community. They really help enrich our community, make it better. So.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
We never got a motion.
Move.
Oh, sorry.
So move. Sorry.
Second.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, those allocations are approved. Item 7C, and Russ reported on this in his council committee report, lease agreements for use of city walkway as outdoor service areas by local businesses. City initiated its motion to approve the form of lease agreement.
Move approval.
Your Honor, if I might, I'm sorry to interrupt. There is one outstanding issue, and that is, right now, there's two possible tenants down there, and one of them has asked that they be allowed to keep their furniture and the like there full-time all year. And so the question has become, our public services is opposed to that at this time, as I understand it, and I think Parks to a lesser extent. But the question is, would you like to have that decided administratively by the departments, or would you rather have that come back to the council if what the various departments decide is not what the tenants would like? And the reason that I think Public Services wants it out of the way because of the mobility issues, trying to clean snow, the potential liabilities that it creates during the wintertime, and it's just, to be honest, kind of a hassle to have that stuff out in the sidewalk area. So they've pretty much said that anything in the near term, they would ask that it be removed in November when the lease term runs for a year, but the actual activity time is April 1 to November 15th.
Yeah, I mean, this is city property, so we're trying to figure out a way to accommodate them to allow more activity on city property. So it seems that we ought to be able to control when they can't be, and it makes sense that it wouldn't be out there and when there's snow and ice.
Right.
It would be hard on their furniture anyway, so I understand that. But yeah, it seems like we ought to be able to use our discretion, the staff ought to be able to use their discretion on what makes sense from that standpoint. I suppose they've always got a right to raise the issue with elected officials, and it could be taken to a committee for further discussion. But I suppose for purposes of these leases, why don't you guys establish the period of time? Obviously, we're going to allow them to be out there as long as we can. And if there's an issue and they want to bring it through one of the council committees for discussion, then it can come through there.
Okay.
My guess is that they have some issue with where they're gonna store this stuff when they bring it in, and they have to rent a storage unit, or,
Right.
you know, what do they do with it? So it'd probably be easier for them to make the investment in the furniture and leave it out there, but, you know, what the mayor said is right. It's, you know, there could be issues there with liability, removing snow, you know, I don't know.
Well, the lease allows for the discretion of the city to decide, but right now you would direct that it's an administrative decision, but it could be taken to a subcommittee for further review.
If a business wants to raise the issue with elected officials, it seems like it ought to come through, and don't, you know,
Maybe
it
that's
ought to
the
come through
appeal.
the committee.
Okay.
Maybe that's the appeal. It's an
Yeah.
administrative decision, and if the business wants to appeal, they can bring it through a subcommittee.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, all in favor of 7C, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I don't think we ever got a motion on that.
So moved.
Second.
I thought we did, because then,
Well, I think Trimble moved and then Dick chimed in the middle of that,
I heard it,
so
all right.
I think I.
just making sure we're
Are
covered.
you,
You say interrupt.
are you satisfied now, Ryan? Did we?
Yeah, we're good to go. Thank you.
Okay, all right,
Ryan's
we're
doing
good.
his job, Ryan's doing his
All
job.
right, all right.
Quit sidetracking us. We knew exactly where we were going, so we
Yeah,
jumped in.
Okay, item 8, there are no items to receive, file, and/or refer. Item 9, other matters. 9A, legislative update. Jamie? Remind me, the updates that the committee gets, do that go to all the council members? Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. Right, okay. Any legislative update comments? We have 3 people down here that could answer.
Don't care to comment.
No, I really appreciate the work of our, you know, legislative committee that is set up to go through this kind of stuff and do the due diligence on it and work with Jamie and our lobbyists, and I think you guys do a great job.
And I have to continue kudos to the Metro Coalition. It really is a good group. Ankeny joined this year, and I think that's a very helpful group to everybody as well. Okay, are there any other matters that any other council member wants to raise tonight? If not, Ryan, it doesn't look like we're back into Teams.
No,
So we're gonna
Teams
have to.
is still not working.
Okay.
Not gonna be able to have the workshop.
So we'll continue the workshop for a couple weeks. I guess I asked Tom maybe to look into an opportunity in 2 weeks. Maybe we can find a room that's large enough to get the 6 elected officials together with us, and we can have a conversation. If we can socially distance in a room large enough, maybe we can get together in person. This is a huge issue to figure out the redevelopment of this area of our community, and it'd be nice to be able to offer an in-person safe option for everyone. So we'll have Tom look into that, but if not, we'll reschedule in 2 weeks to have it. And I know they sent out their presentation material, which was very helpful to go through. So it'll give us a little bit more time to digest it. There was a lot in there when I was going through it today. Okay.
I'd love at some point too, once we get something going with Clive, I'd love to bring in Des Moines at some point too. I mean, talking to you about master planning university up and down, just to try to get together and see what kind of synergy we can come up with. And you know, I don't know if you guys, Tom, have had any communications with Scott Sanders and the people there, but I know there's been people that have brought that up, and maybe we're just such different communities that we can't come up with master plan for university.
Because of the crowd and university, that's quite different worlds that we have not.
I still think at some point we ought to go back and look at straightening that out. I mean, especially with, you know, it was my understanding that Clive, as a part of their flood project, was going to buy out the Wittern Group. I mean, which was the major business along there, and you got Earl May, and then there was about 9 houses. But I think the Wittern Group property was a big issue on doing that as well. But if they're going to get relocated through the flood buyout and stuff, there may be an opportunity to look to straighten that segment out again that I think would have.
It'd be a good joint project with us
Yeah.
for the MPO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Des Moines would be supportive of that too. I mean, I can't remember. It was so much money to put that jog in. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, a lot more than to straighten it out. But I think some of the property owner issues may be going away because of the flood buyout.
Yeah, that might make sense then.
Okay, I guess then we're adjourned.